Season 1 is here. You want to know what class to play. I'm going to keep it short and sweet and save you some time. First, if you want to know what I'm playing, I decided I hate living. So I'm going to be playing Necromancer in Season 1, even with the damage reduction nerfs. And I'm going to be playing Hardcore, and I'm going to be playing a Minion Thorn type of Necromancer build. I know it sounds stupid. If you want to watch me suffer, I will have my live stream pinned in the comment as well as the description. Come on by and enjoy the misery. With all that being said, let's talk about the real winners and losers when it comes to picking your class. Now, there's a few things we need to keep in mind when we are talking about what class to play. First and foremost, the new patch notes. Now, if we go down and we actually look at the class patch notes, I'm not going to go through all this again, but I have already covered this. If you look at what they changed when it comes to the actual classes, some of the classes did better than the others. Barbarian got a pretty big nerf. Sorcerer got put into the dirt even though they were already in the dirt. Necromancer got a buff to some minions and a nerf to Bone Spear, but Druid and Rogue came out smelling pretty good. They actually got the most minimal nerfs. Yes, Rogue got a Siphoning Strike nerf. The rest of it seems fine. And then Druid's main tornado build is still viable. So if you really want super ultra in-game, Druid's still perfectly fine for this. And if you want to play something fast and fun from the beginning, Rogue is still perfectly fine for this as of the patch notes. So that means right off the bat, if you're wanting to play something meta and good, basically there are two classes people are considering, the Druid and the Rogue. These are your two primary obvious picks as of currently. Now, you might be wondering, well, that's great, but that's not even half the classes in the game. What about the other ones? What if I'm thinking about playing the other classes? Well, Bone Spear Necro got nerfed, so if you want to play Bone Spear Necro, it is factually worse than it was. However, it is still completely viable. People are still doing an absolute ton damage of it. Yes, it was a massive nerf. We're talking half or something, okay? You can still kill Uber Lilith. You can still push Nightmare Tier Dungeons, etc. Here's the problem with it. The damage reduction nerfs from the patch notes and Necromancer not having much mobility, meaning not much avoidance, means you're going to really need to be careful if you decide to play Necromancer. Sorcerer has basically the same problem, okay, which is extremely squishy. Sorcerer is basically not a class as of the moment. They have a really cool caged hearts, which is the next part of this we're going to talk about, all right? But they got a pretty hard nerf. Now, Barbarian is still totally viable. I'd say it's the middle one. I'd say it'd probably go Druid best in game, Rogue best early, Barbarian's kind of the middle, does all right, and then Necromancer probably following Barbarian, followed by Sorcerer after 18 levels of pavement, and then there's the Sorcerer. That's kind of my breakdown. If you just want a quick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it would probably look like that. But Barbarian's still viable. Hoda had a major bug. So if you were playing the Hammer of the Ancients build on Barbarian and you were just slamming, one-shotting things and doing 60 million damage, etc., the screenshots you see, that was a bug and it's been fixed. So a Hammer of the Ancients is going to feel factually worse. However, from what I'm seeing, they still seem totally viable. For instance, they got some buffs to things like Double Swing, Rupture, and what have you. But if we want to do justice to thinking about what class we should play, we are going to need to look at the Malignant Hearts. Keep in mind there are 4 different types. There's the Vicious, Brutal, Devious, and Wrathful, meaning orange, blue, purple, and then this is a superpowered one that goes in any of the sockets. There's corresponding jewelry for each one of these colors, so depending upon what you decide to run, which type of hearts, that is going to change maybe the type of build you do. Now, we can actually scroll down and see what these hearts are going to actually do. So if we look at these, I'm going to kind of skip through the Gemro ones because there's 32 of these, but I think the way to look at this is look at the most fun one, which is Wrathful. So Wrathful is the super one for each class. You can kind of look at the Wrathful for each of these classes and basically see what you're aiming to acquire in terms of the super heart and use that to decide which one of the ones sounds the most fun for you and if you want to do it. Now, Barbarian has a incoming damage, has a chance of being ignored, instead healing you, Wrathful. So they get a defensive version of the Wrathful, which could actually be quite good considering that defensives are heavily nerfed going into Season 1. So if what you want is to be a little bit more tanky, maybe you want to do a Thorn build, then maybe the Barbarian. If we look at the Druid here, this is a how to put this. This is a counter to CC. So if what you absolutely hate is the fact that you get frozen, feared, knocked down, etc., that's what their super does. When you're hit by a stun, freeze, or knockdown effect, there's a 40 to 60 chance to automatically activate Grizzly Rage for 3 seconds. This could actually be quite good because not only does it counter it, but Grizzly Rage itself, okay, is going to give you unstoppable as well as give you massively increased damage for things like rampaging werebeast, etc., the werewolf ones, and for the storm tornado build. So if you want to do like a shape-shifting werewolf tornado build, this fits in very well, which also happens to be probably the strongest build. So Druid did pretty good in terms of the Caged Hearts. Necromancer, I think, is one that's kind of go under the radar a little bit. This is why I'm playing a Necromancer minion build. Each minion drains 1 to 2 essence per second, but deals 50 to 75% increased damage. With no minions, this instead applies to you and drains 5 essence per second. So even if you're not doing a minion build, you're going to get a massive ramping damage modifier. Okay, 50 to 75%. This is just across all damage in its entirety. So for that reason, Necromancer's damage is about to go woo, which is going to be a fun mechanic, in my personal opinion, from their Wrathful Super. So if that sounds interesting, then you're going to go Necromancer. Now, if you look at Rogue here, their Wrathful has a 5 to 15% chance to apply all imbuement effects at 40 or 50% of the normal potency. This is just your attacks, not your basic attacks. So all attacks. So if you want to be able to poison, shadow imbue, code enchantment, etc., if the consistent flurry of attacks and constantly having all of this ramping imbuement poison type of effects, code effects, shadow effects, if that sounds fun for you and the RNG of that sounds fun for you, then you're going to want to go Rogue. I actually think Rogue's going to be pretty good. This is actually a pretty good Caged Heart as well. So I think Rogue is right up there with Druid. I think it goes Druid and Rogue. If I had to pick like the top 2, I think that's what it is. And then we almost don't have to read the Sorcerer run because, again, it's a Sorcerer class, but let's do it anyway. Core skills that launch a projectile consume all of your mana. For every 45 to 35 extra mana consumed, you launch an additional projectile and the damage is increased by 3 to 5%. So you can see 3 to 5%, not a massive increase, okay, but you get an additional projectile. Meaning if you are shooting like Frozen Orb, you shoot 1 and you have 135 extra mana, then you're shooting 3 more extra one of these. It basically makes Sorcerer a little bit more bursty. This seems like kind of a fun mechanic, but you have to have the mana to do it, meaning that you're going to have to build good mana generation before this actually does anything. Whereas a lot of these other ones, like this is just, you just have to attack. Rogues is it's not how much essence you have or whatever, you just have to attack, okay? Necromancers is drained per second based upon essence, so you're going to be lower on essence, and then the Druids just happens, and the Barbs just happens. That's why I like these ones a little bit more, because it's something that just happens. So how does that actually influence our class decision? If you're asking me, Druid number 1, Rogue number 2, Barbarian number 3, right next to Necromancer number 4. And this is mostly because Barbarian's going to be a lot tankier in a season where we need tank stats. Otherwise, the Necromancer would probably take 3 and then Barbarian 4. And then Sorcerer is like number 9, somewhere between like number 5 would be an elite minion. Number 6 would be, a weaker elite minion. Number 7 and 8 would be just normal mobs. And then number 9 would be your character Sorcerer. So that's how I feel about classes currently at the moment. Again, I'm going to be playing the Thorn minion build, basically. It's going to be terrible, and I'm going to love every second of it. So come by the live streams here. I will be live just after the posting of this video. And if you notice, there's a Twitter link too. I can't tell you yet, but there's something big coming on my Twitter as of later today. That is actually a big announcement, and it's for you guys. So with that being said, love you all. See ya on the live streams.